Well, good morning. I'm going to just take a few minutes to just brag on the Lord. He's been so good to me. A couple things as a parent, I try to work with my kids on, several things. Obedience is one, lying is one. But one that we try to emphasize is being thankful. And I know we haven't hit late November yet, and so we're supposed to wait till those days to start being thankful. I get it. But people will come and say, Eric, do you ever struggle with things? And, when it comes to alcohol, drugs, those types, it's easy to say no. But I'll just tell you one of the things I'd say in the last 4 to 6 weeks that God has been really dealing with my heart about is a sin that sometimes I don't like to really get up and confess, but I think it's something hopefully can be an encouragement to you. It's in Psalm 92, verse number 1. It says, "It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord." And then if you read another passage in James, it says, "To him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin." And so the Lord's just been stirring my mind to say, Eric, this is a sin that you're really struggling with. Because it's easy to teach our kids when somebody hands them a piece of candy, thank you, and then just move on. Or it's easy if somebody gives you a birthday gift to write thank you notes. But God gives us so many things that I think we quick just say thank you, but then we really don't appreciate truly what God's given to us. And I sit back and I think about all the wonderful things that God's given in my life. And I know when we do things, we kind of expect people to just pour out their show of appreciation. You're like, well, I guess they really appreciate it. But I wonder if God looks down at my life, and I know He does, and says, Eric, you're not a thankful person. You kind of just expect me to bless you. And it's just a sin that I personally have been struggling with, and I get down and I get down and I get down. And you want people to appreciate what you do, but I think God is the same way. I think He really loves thankful children. And I think as He looks down and says, Eric, I've given you this and I don't really appreciate it like I ought to, He doesn't give me more. And I don't think I need to be thankful just because I want more, but I think God is especially happy when we're thankful with the wonderful things He's given to us. And so I'm going to give you a couple of things that I guess the Lord just stirred me, and I don't want this to be kind of weird or awkward, but down here is my parents. And they've been coming here, how many years, Mom? 40, 44, 45 years. And I remember growing up and wishing I could have a dad that was a pastor or a missionary or a deacon. And as I've stopped and considered some things, I stop and say, man, God says, hey, I've given you a great dad. What's wrong with you? And, if you know my dad, he's a worker. I was laughing at him yesterday because it's beyond the weather that he likes. Anything below 80 he doesn't like. And I was leaving yesterday from the church, and he's out on the tractor. You couldn't see him. You just saw his eyes peeking out of his hood. But he takes the things that he does here super serious. And he loves the ministries here. And my mom still tells me when I'm wrong. She lets me know a couple times, and everybody else. She prays for my kids. And sometimes we say that every good gift and perfect gift comes from above, but we kind of just take for granted wonderful things that we have. And I'm thankful for my parents, the upbringing that I have. I'm thankful for my salvation. And God's good. And for 30 years, I've known the Lord as my Savior, and I haven't gotten over it. But sometimes, let's be honest with you, I kind of I got saved. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, but I got saved. It was kind of like a checklist. No, I'm going to heaven. I gave somebody a tract. Mr. Olson puts out the Amazing Grace tracts. I handed somebody one of those. I said, you ever heard the song Amazing Grace? And they're like, yeah, I love that song. I said, do you know what grace means? They're like, nope. But sometimes I think I forget the same thing. I don't live with the grace of God. So my salvation is wonderful. My wife and my kids. I find it sometimes I'm always complaining about how bad my kids are. Like, why did I have them? Children are heritage of the Lord, right? And so God's given me 4 kids to work with and to disciple. Why do I get upset about that when they're just not doing what I want them to do all the time? I don't know. I know you're looking at me and say, that sounds strange, but God's given me 4 children to work with, and they're trying to do what's right. That's a blessing. It's a wonderful thing. And the last thing I just want to stop and talk about is our church. Church is a wonderful place. I love being here on Sundays. I love being here during the week and being able to jump into whatever's going on. You know, there's all sorts of social gatherings you can be parts of, but this is a special place. You say, I don't have a lot of talent, a lot of skills, a lot of whatever. I can't sing, I can't play, therefore I sit out there. I get it. There's lots of good Sunday school teachers and so forth. And sometimes we sit back and say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. When I was 15 or 16, I was in the weight room working out one time, and I was up there and somebody said, Pastor Dammer needs to see you about something. Well, that scared me. I thought I was in trouble, which I probably was. I don't remember what happened. I just remember I stood up and there was 2 dumbbells on the bench. And when I stood up, the one rolled off. It was a 50-pounder, and it landed on my big toe. I was not singing Amazing Grace at that time, but I'll never forget the pain of that thing crushing my big toe. Now, I don't walk around and say, hey, check out my big toe to people. It's kind of ugly, actually. But I came to understand the value of my big toe. It's an important part of my body. I'm glad it doesn't take the day off, because you wouldn't walk straight. And I guess as you come here, some maybe come on Sunday morning, and like Pastor Dammer just mentioned, Sunday night, we have other services. Thursday, we've got teaching. I'm just going to encourage you, jump in. Everybody in our church is important. And you say, I'm not even a member. Well, it's not real hard. You can come see one of the pastors. They can say, this is kind of what it takes to be a member of the church. And you can join, and you can be a part. And when you miss, the whole body doesn't work properly. And it's just been encouragement to me that I don't have to be a pastor. I don't have to be a deacon. I don't have to be an usher. But I can still be a part. And so my challenge is, I guess for me, the Lord just been hammering me about just being unthankful. In the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've tried to ask the Lord's forgiveness in that realm. And maybe the Lord can speak to your heart and challenge you about being thankful before Thanksgiving.